प्रसार भारती अभिलेखागार की प्रस्तुति सदाबहार सुनहरे दौर का अनमोल खजाना।
Hello. In this second part on the Indian New Wave, we are going to look at the basketful of surprises that came out of the various regional languages of Indian cinema. Undoubtedly, the most privileged and successful of all the regions in India was Kerala. And here was the acid test. The mainstream Indian cinema kept complaining that the quality of their films was directly related to the taste of the audience, their likes and dislikes. Now, does that mean that to have a better quality of cinema, you need to have a better quality of viewers? Who is going to make this judgment? Well, in Kerala, thanks to a very high standard of literacy and also a good standard of living, things were going to be proved otherwise. And the man who put Kerala on the map of Indian New Wave cinema was Ramu Karyat, with his film called Chemmeen. Chemmeen could be called the true trendsetter. It worked within a strong realistic idiom and incorporated some of the major artists of Malayalam popular cinema into its fold. Viewers realized after watching Chemmeen that drama could also be natural, and helped of course by the powerful backdrop of the sea, admirably photographed by Marcus Bartley. Chemmeen was really going to be a big start for the Malayalam cinema. Added to its popularity was the fact that it was the first Malayalam film to win the Best Feature Film National Award, the Golden Lotus. And the credit for being the artistic leader of the Malayalam New Wave front can only go to Adur Gopalakrishnan, an ex-student of the FTII in Pune.
Well, when you start making films, you experiment with the form a lot. And you also think you have a lot to say, so you try to say everything in your first film. But there's a time when you slowly start realizing what paths you should take.
In his first film, Adur addressed a subject very close to his heart, the tragedy of urbanization as it affects the growth of a proper relationship between a newly married husband and wife. The film deals with various kinds of spaces, inner versus outer, work versus pleasure, privileged versus ostracized, and finally the choice or the lack of it of having a space at all. Central to this drama is the anguish of a woman who has to share the sufferings for no fault of her.
No, there is a misconception that the final form of an artistic film is well defined and designed, and everything is progressing towards the achievement of that. I think this is a very wrong approach, because for the new cinema or the so-called art cinema to be really new, it has to keep examining itself, renewing itself. There has to be a constant process of evolving. Unless that happens, no, you will be thrown out of the race.
With Eli Patayam, Adur Gopalakrishnan comes a long way in experimenting with his idea of form and drama. This film takes place in the inner recesses of a very complex person. The space occupied by the protagonist is almost like an Eli Patayam, meaning a rat trap. The more he is trapped, the more comfortable he feels. But the moment he is freed, he has to encounter several options, and that can be extremely frightening. Eli Patayam explores this journey of liberation. The other great innovator from Kerala was an artist, a poet, and his name was Aravindan.
We were working for a Finnish society where I was working in this rubber board, and we were a group of people, writers mainly, and some painters and theatre people. So we used to discuss films and talk about it, and in fact we tried some government help in the sense that we approached the State Bank of India to find out whether they can finance the film, but it failed. Then one of my close friends, who is a well-known writer, who is no more, said that he will raise the money rather from his relatives, and why not we start it.
While watching a film on circus, one would always expect shades of a Fellini or a Raj Kapoor, but not for Aravindan. For him, Tambu, or the circus, was a conglomeration of unique souls, each perambulating through an unmediated path of self-realization. The drama is highly intrinsic. The drama in this film is highly interiorized, and the characters open themselves depending on the way the viewer empathizes with their struggle. Seeing an Aravindan film is almost like meeting him in person. Close on the heels of Aravindan was his own cameraman. He was also a graduate from the Pune Film and TV Institute, and his name was Shaji Karun. Shaji's films innovated a kind of leisurely pace, but still filled up to the brim with a charged tension. While watching Piravi, we noticed that behind the veil of unhurried observation was a subject brimming with contradiction, pulsating with raw energy, and yet very, very contemporary. Piravi is also a unique example where the director is also a visualizer, a cameraman.
In the beginning of the 70s, everybody was thinking about making films in low budget. So I was also, before that I used to write for films, but I was not always very happy about the end products, because many of them are my good friends. But they had to do a lot of compromise, because their budget was high, and they had to depend on the reigning stars. So I was thinking of doing a film. I had a short story in one of my earlier published short stories. I wanted to make a film. So within very limited budget. So that's how I planned Nirmalyam. And a drama artist who has of course appeared in certain films by that time as a character artist, P.J. Anthony. I thought he was the ideal man to do the central character. I shot it in my village.
Nirmalyam as a work functions more on the lines of a Ritwik Ghatak dramaturgy, focusing intensely on the problem of values in the family of a temple high priest. The film takes extreme positions both in performances and dramatic resolution. If these films do not do well at the box office, does it reflect on the taste of the audience, or does it reflect on the craftsmanship of the filmmaker? Working with so many handicaps as it is, like finance or production values, do these filmmakers need to be necessarily technically competent in order to compensate for an impoverished product?
Creative individuality depends on one's own choice. It's very important to know why and how we should use the benefit of new technology. There is nothing new in new technology, but it's very important that a filmmaker should know his target audience, and he should know each and every individual project. One should know beforehand what exactly a filmmaker is like to do or he wants from his new project. Otherwise, right from the beginning, he creates confusion both for him and both for the audience.
If you are truthful, if there is a discernible artistic integrity in the work, it will sound true to an audience, even when they are not particularly familiar with the life or even the concerns in a film. After all, ultimately films are about humans and human situations. So they will appeal at one level, but then I don't think, even in such a situation, for us in India, in the so-called third world, we have been looking up to the life, culture and values in the West for a long time with a lot of awe and respect and admiration. So we take it upon ourselves as our responsibility that you have to be well versed with all this, that you have to be abreast of what is happening. So with this added responsibility on our shoulders, we already have this background, the base to assimilate what comes in those films.
In the world of Gujarati cinema, where the poorest of Indian mainstream cinema is produced, Ketan Mehta took up this formidable challenge in a bold way. This story of an autocratic rural chieftain is said in a style laden with theatrical stylistics, a kind of play within a play. On the production level, it was also the work of a cooperative of film craftsmen.
क्या मरी गया था? मरी नहोता गया, जानमा गया था.
खबर न थी कि जानमा जशे तो जान थी जशे.
जाओ, एक एक ने लई जईने एवा चाबखा मारो के खो भूली जाए.
Among the new wave Bengal tigers, Buddhadev Dasgupta certainly is one of the most accomplished.
তারপর তোমার নতুন বাড়ি, এখানে সবাই আছে, তোমার বউ, পোলা, মাইয়া, পোলা সব ভুইলা গেলে এরই মধ্যে তুমি যখন জেলে গেছিলা তোমার বউ তখন 7 মাসের পোয়াতি, মনে নাই সেই কথা?
Tahader Katha has the ideal combination of the soft focus photography of Eastern European cinema, the dramatic pace of an Ingmar Bergman, and the earthy feel of a Dovzhenko. Buddhadev manages to incorporate all this into a strong rural ethos, with a very popular actor coming to uplift the dramatic tone. The realistic observations made here focus more on a kind of painterly beauty, fragile and undisturbed. The human presence in this canvas stands delicately balanced between a source of disturbance and a factor of harmony. Another FTI graduate resurrected the states of Northeast India in Assam on the map of Indian cinema. Janu Barua, the director, worked within the realistic mold and had the unenviable task of working in a completely unindustrial territory. These new wave films from Assam and the other northeastern states like Manipur virtually educate us in a way that no other medium had dared or even bothered about. Can we imagine where these films are ever going to be shown or screened? Do they have any market at all?
No, I think the market for example, where it is very, very highly evolved, it's not so evolved here, but like in the United States, has become so anonymous. But the feebleness of the creative person in any field, that you have an anonymous force preventing any possibility of contact.
Have also, because of government intervention of a particular kind. But those societies, I don't know how it happens, but I don't think Indian society is quite capable of allowing government intervention of that kind. Doesn't happen so easily here, because we've all been connected, I've been connected one way or another with different aspects of government intervention in the cinema, and I find that it really hasn't worked so well. And I don't see why the government should intervene at all.
The growth of Doordarshan and the International Film Festival in India were certainly to be major contributors to the establishment and respectability of the fragile Indian new wave. But did these films really fulfill the socialist secular intentions? Telecasting these films on these channels, did they really reach out to a large audience? Of course, these films did get back some money for their low investments, but did they manage to reach the large number of people in the regional channels at least? Or did they take a beating alongside the more privileged programs on other channels? You should be able to answer that better. See you next time on another edition of Frame to Frame. Till then, goodbye.